All right. Good morning, everyone. So we'll start with making a mandala offering as a token for requesting the teachings, and then Geshe will lead the way with correcting a motivation with refuge and bodhicitta. So I'll just open the prayers on the screen in a second. Sa shi pegi junshi me do dra re ra le shi ni de gen pa di sangye shin tu mi te uwai rogu nam da shin la chu pa sho i dam guru rana mandala kamniya taya mi
Sangye Chedan Tsojin Chonum La Chanchu Bardu Dame Kyabsun Dagi Chushi Gibin Tsonum Gin Drogampe Sangye Drupara Sho Sangye Chedan Tsojin Chonum La Chanchu Bardu Dame Kyabsun Dagi Chushi Gibin Tsonum Gin Drogampe Sangye Drupara Sho Sangye Chedan Tsojin Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dani Kyabsun Dagi Chushi Gibin Tsonum Gin Drolam Sangye Drupara Sho Kanki Tuzi Nizone Tawa Tamje Pambi Chere Tambi Chun Tenze Kodam Kela Chamse Lo. Good morning, everyone. Hanzu Lojong Nimioser Drotig Yoresra Lojong Nimioser said. Tinstangi did Samnima Samden Davidoni any Kamakashi Shuginsra.
So, good morning, everyone. To begin with, we've been looking at a text that is called Mind Training Like the Rays of the Sun, and we've covered a few pages in the text, so you're welcome to join us. Geshe thought of saying a few words, just explaining where we are at the moment in the text.
Dire Tanaganzu Samden Dire May Truladen in Dungachil Chuchil Dur Trundachin Nikavi Mumbitus Nimalo said. Ra Peshiti instance. Munchun Julian de Langachin. Ah,
Jojole.
the Langachin and Tanarangi Tunchi Chuk said.
Just a second. All right. So, in encouraging us to make the most out of our freedoms and richnesses with the precious human body, this text is drawing from Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, which says, relying on a boat of a human body, free yourself from the great river of pain, as it is hard to find this boat again. This is no time to sleep, you fool.
Direta zo di Takiranzo Ra Nanchu Pigilea Nyendo Yore and Nanchu singing the Karimba de and Shindu Yore or Dinza Nanzuka Duina Chik Tambo and Chik Nanchu Nya de Kitchenbo Nyeni Nanchu Tola Samudaya de Kitchenbo Ra Samudani and Chik that Trudin Ye Jingurasra, some Lutani, Trudin in the Digi, and Pendo Kariyame, Rangla Kandis Pinguyame, and Shanlaya Pendo Kariyame. The Injiminita Ra Chegudas Ra, Nanchu Jambi Gudendro de Tereshas Ra.
So here we are contemplating our precious human rebirth. And the point here is to think, how is it beneficial for me? How can I use it to be of benefit to others? What's the benefit that myself and others can get from my current situation? This is the type of attitude that we take into our training or into our practice, our Buddhist practice.
This. 어디다 딘자 더 디게 년진으로 난주 년이 난주 된다데 가르도 디소술을 가르pen도 미션을 가르pen도 제투도 어디성당과 베키심도.
So it's really important as we listen to those teachings to think ourselves, what's the point? How is it of benefit for me? How is it of benefit to others?
제 간주기 간주 냐야디 시작 할래고 슬라운디 간주 대원 되고요래 동안 되고요 말아서 어디 실샤니 아니 간주 취있다 취닝고요 버디 야시야다 말이에요.
So as we listen to such explanations, we do that on the basis of recognizing that all of us are seeking happiness and we want to avoid suffering. And that is the basis for our thinking of how to use those teachings in order to contribute to our own happiness and well-being and to remove certain degrees of suffering and pain.
딘자 당한 난추니에 난추니 수수 대원 되야기 대원 드비야기 탑 가리요메 될 때는 대원 칸르지 드립 투구요메 안 될 때는 동화 칸르 세 투구요메 계지 동화 세 투구 매바이나 난추니에 난추기 비기 랍제 나라야 수수리야 동화 세야기 탑람지 매바이나 대원 드비야기 탑람지 매바이나 되니 더 고대 매교로지 최고로서 디인지미 신고야로지.
So then as we look at such teachings taken from the Buddhist tradition, we ask ourselves, is there a way of accomplishing the happiness that we seek? Is there a method for doing that? Are there things that I can do in order to develop happiness and well-being? Are there things that I can do in order to eliminate my own suffering and pain? If I cannot do that, what's the point in engaging in the Buddha Dharma? There will be no purpose, no need for me to do it if it is not possible. So we do need to think about it.
어디에 대자다 딘티티 라 베나다 수년 투그레스 라바나스 라 수년 투그레스 라바나 안주단 로르두 잠블리 나와라야 로르두 셰고르다 아니 로르두 피게 켈렌치 마투바이나야 메다 튼조게 니 개바여바디 간주 온숨도 두고라스 다 메다 튼조 니기 나니 수게 년투도 수년투문도 슬라바이나 아니 튼조게 삼로 땅 투고 매바디 야시야다 말이에요. 딘성 안주 미치기 년투여바지 미 년은 년투여바디 미 삼나 삼 투여바디 아니 튼조 년 마투가다 수체고레슬라나 미 체고라스 다디 미 레가지로스 딘자 소소 밀룰랑비 고든디 피게 아니 심죽 딱지 타심 뭐 지야디 소소 밀룰랑비 고든인자 인지미 체고거레스 다디.
So then as we listen to such teachings, we also think to ourselves, who are the beings, living beings that have the ability to do that? From a Buddhist perspective, when we look at different states of existence, we speak of 6 realms of existence, but some of them are not visible to us. So at least with the things that we can see for the time being, we see ourselves as human beings and also the other living beings, animals and so forth. So of those that we can see that animals, for example, don't have the capacity to listen to the teachings in a sense that they don't have the ability to listen to teachings, then process the teachings, analyze them and so forth. Whereas we as human beings, we have that ability. We have the ability to take on these teachings and assess them.
들어서 디마도지 다 둔둔한신신이 비기게 수수 첸디게 직도 포박한 게 쳐도 아니 수수기 대화지기 쳐도 아니 비기게 다지 신 비기게 초야 점이야 세야 사야를 써봐서 첸은 저대바이나 아니 수수치고 뭐도 쌍로마다 저대바이나 디 아니 미 임비게 goden rode sangyo mares. But this song does ra.
Now, what this section is aiming at is to make us think of how we're going to live a life. If we're going to live a life in just being busy with thinking of food or drinks, or how we can use others for our advantage, how we can get profit from others, take things from others, steal from others, and so forth. If we live a life in a sense that we're just consumed with our own thoughts and needs and so forth, it would be a pitiful way of living.
Tiri dinza karsorda da mila karioris laundi ani lengi pi ngoyog lengi jetuyagi ani mila leba jianza di mi leba di pejuchia di pekechemboreshas di mi leba di milu tobi kabli yormado kana milu lu shamba jilam kabli ya di kogob diyo maris dinza tanda milu langshaba di tanda milu langshaba di ngone tanigi pigi karsoda kawasambu kogob yakbu shuj yimba di ani ngun zimbitoni mandrobayna chisu yangya ngazuta cheni yangya milu languarsana kalakabu shujres.
So once we have taken such a body such as this, we have the capacity to use our mind or to use a brain in order to well distinguish between the positive and negative, the right and the wrong. We have the ability to do it, and it's important that we make use of the abilities that we have. Once we've taken a body such as this, it is possible to do it. And had we taken another type of body, for example, had we been born as animals, it would be not possible for us to do it. So we are fortunate for finding this opportunity. We are lucky for having the opportunity to make the maximum use of our mind. So we want to take advantage of it. We need to take advantage of the fact that we have the ability to do it in this life.
아니 동하기 다 초올레 더거스 라운드 당한서 갖되는 동하 균체메 바피기 남자 직자 차도 셴나 지 용대 디 아니 남죽 만당기 왕기 용구연자 딘지기 남주 트ян디 미 틀었다니 용고연자 딘디디 체고스 마도 트디 치니 아니 양게처럼 밀룰라야디 깔하고 쇼지레스 인자 단단히 캐람페 니세친으로 아니 하코토니 슈갸고도스 어딘지 송고도스라.
So here the author of the text in quoting Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva of Life in saying that relying on the boat of a human body, free yourself from the great river of pain. Once we've found this boat of a human body, which is capable of supporting human wisdom or intelligence, we want to make maximum use of it. This is the meaning of this section.
Jabena dechare kongtore ngargere ani chagdo dezu tontrolayina pe ni shukchembu shuyorasra manzu di injimi dia kombal tangoyagi nedensi kiyomaras ra tinza tak nanzula kariorslavndi ngonnegi lengi namba jetuyagi namjuchik yonza da di injimijik ra bezunchinda kombal tangudus ra.
We have afflictive states of mind, anger and attachment, pride, jealousy, and so forth, but also animals have them. Animals have also strong forms of those afflictive states of mind. So it's not that what we need to do is to increase the power of anger, attachment, and so forth. What we do have as human beings is the intelligence, the wisdom that can well discern between what is right, wrong, what is correct, what is incorrect. So we want to make effort in order to develop this wisdom.
Re dinamaya dunghargi chul dorgosag dunghargi tsawadi tanjishu deagi chagdam monsung gutsebi ani ngarge chagdolo soba tigitile tene dunga yungu yorwas nyokta yunguyoras ra nga zambeling nangi nyokta chamalo yakpu somdawayna ani chagdam monsum ngargir chagdo ran jinzen da shen yavar tubi samlo an dintri la teni yunguyobayinza tusu samlo tangsho jigi toni gyuwa tangwari mado pigi yulgi chani chi yulgi chani ani tin gyuwa tangyagi tabshi jig zawajini mundu asirwa.
And when Shantideva says in the text, free yourself from the great river of pain, what he refers to is to free yourself from the great river of pain that is brought forward, that is created by anger, attachment, pride, jealousy, cherishing yourself and disregarding others, cherishing yourself and neglecting others. So we want to free ourselves from all the problems and pains that are created by such afflictive states of mind, rather than using our power or our ability to change things outside and try to resolve a situation, to fix a situation externally. We want to fix our mind. If we try just to change the external environment, we will not rid ourselves of pain or suffering. What we want to do is to transform our mind.
제 산지기 주도 송디게 타르토온디 비 남줄이야 안 셔럽이야 또진 로 셔럽 토니드니 아니 비기다 데버드다 셔럽 토니 수수기 직 되던 줘야지 아니 셔럽을 때는 주고야지 셔럽 쪼르샤니 주단디 송도스 딘자 샘그 동아세야디야 샘그 녀다세야디야 아니 샘 그톱기 용거를 마도 아주 류그 나사나신기 아니 지 비기 치 메세네 아니 샘 소주세디 사원이니 겹 툭툭 거라 문도 왔으러 아주 맨 가르세바이나 샘바 상부차야기 맨식 아니 치 맨식 메바스러 소보곰 투야기 치 맨식 메바스 딘자 tat 르 마데비 왕기 lula tembi chik sem thuk doya tindi yunguri mato ani chik semba sangbu yongyagi chi men chik tsawni ni mebas ona semba bigi ani sem gi nasa ani chik sem gi bigi nyogda di se tsawni ni yomarasla na ko kenjil teni choma inza kenjil teni dokto yobadi ko ngobi chungi soru chagores dinza tati khari dogorasla sem gi tobki lengi namba jibi namchu tobki dogorasadi ani sanjibi shongda toma kabise ti 견다데 백히심으로도 신이 가와디 치 양양이야기 깔락하고 이마디 안좀미 망보지 상로야 지 밀시바이나 밀기에 들어가다 돈조시바이나 돈조를 기에 들어야지 야미 망보 수지기 신이 카야 내가지 마도지 양양이와 치면서 해야 된다 자원이 너도 마셔 딘지 망보 수지 미 망보 수지 아니 딘지를 양 고건 내려가서
So currently in our physical makeup, it depends upon our brain. We can make sure that we work in order to secure better states of existence. And it would be hard to do it if we are born again, but not as human beings or in other states of existence. Some think that maybe after death, when you take another rebirth, you're born again as a human being. If you're an animal, for example, upon death, you will again be born as animal. So there is no transference from one state of existence to another state of existence. Some think like that. Or some other people wonder if upon death, everything will go out of existence, as if we live only once, if there is no another type of rebirth. Those are hard topics, isn't it?
간지 니까비게 르덴지 소수 니요바디 소바이나 따짜 참이 임바지 소르로스 라 짜참 임바지 소바이나 디피게 대주 야부지야 땅가로스라.
So it is hard to find such a human body again. And when you look into that, you can understand how difficult it is from the viewpoint, from the perspective of the cause and conditions that produce such a human body. When you understand how hard it is to assemble the cause and conditions for such a body, you can understand how hard it is to find a human rebirth. And that being the case, you think that I have such a body and therefore I need to make the most out of it. I need to appreciate the precious thing that I have at the moment and make sure that I use it to the maximum.
Gyugen tsodi karreduse di chidang kalakahu peddo asra kalakahu peddo yinaya di tolaya des samtan tuwana ra anzuta lulneya gyugen tsodi karredu pena nambe shung chik sunguyore ani chik pena tseribagi chik sunguyore ani di mayin gigi ani sungye mangwarta to sama 직 간지 직대니 실주 제토바이나 되니 오늘 시니 아니 유진이 돌아야 제발 제당 에 세럽게 용으로 왔어.
So then we start thinking, what are the main causes and conditions that give rise to a body such as our body? It's quite hard, quite complicated to think about it, but we want to maybe make a little research. Do a research with respect to the cause and conditions that produce a body such as this. What does the Buddha Dhamma say with respect to that? Or you can also check what science say about it, or maybe what other people, other schools of thought say with respect to the cause and conditions that produce a body such as this.
아니 샘 개발도 수중세디 물내야기 기긴 쪼래야 샤기도 수중스라운 또 메기처럼 수중 다 메기처럼 수중디 물내야기 규쪼를 조고요나 아니 소수기 가주스비래야 아니 메기처럼 수중 송구요메 또 스테바이나 양자 이 물내야기 규디 사투두문도 So then
when you look at it from a Buddhist perspective, the main cause for being born again as a human being with a human body has to do with your mind. More specifically, it is guarding ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtue. That is the main cause for, again, taking a human body. That being the case, then we start to look at our own life and ask ourselves, how are we going about? How are we doing in terms of guarding ethical discipline which abstains from the 10 non-virtues? Are we able to do it well? Am I accumulating the cause and conditions for once again in the future being able to be born again as a human being? It's important to think about it. So once you start to think about it, you find that the body that we have now is amazing. This physical support that we have now is really special. So we need to make sure that we make a good use of it. And if we do not use it well, it'd be stupid. It'd be like falling asleep. It's be like going unconscious and failing to recognize how precious the opportunities that we have at the moment. So when we continue with the text, it says, Podawa tells the following stories in his teachings by example. So Podawa was an exceptional Buddhist scholar, was exceptional practitioner, was an exceptional scholar, and he illustrated the importance of such a human body using illustrations and analogies. Oh. No. So it says, so looking at his teaching by example, once a man was plowing his field when he turned up earthworm. To his amazement, the red worm stood on end and prostrated to a nearby image of the Buddha. It is equally rare for someone like us just coming out from a base state of rebirth to turn up as a human being and to do something positive and spiritually beneficial. So if such is possible for an earthworm to come out of the earth and make prostration, that would be amazing if that is possible. So even more so, Potawa says, it is equally rare for someone like us just coming out from a bad state of rebirth to turn up as a human being and to do something positive and spiritually beneficial. So if it's so rare in considering that since time without beginning, as we've been taking different types of rebirth, it is rare to be born in such a state of existence like this and having a human body with everything intact and being able to use our mind. We think that this is so rare, then it's quite amazing, and I have to make sure that I make the most out of it, that I take advantage of my precious human rebirth.
Any me chigi does dangan toyando na ani you do not ya kamba lava niga me posaji ni tamshi melaya ani lo so jabta ani pi zemo zeta sam toyando di ani man sama yam singoros one chini igi ani yam tsaya so karsna ku 강바도 라보면이야 그 류된 그 레버디 미 레버 차와인자 데르 때니 그 남주부터 디체버렸어 그래서 디인지 남주 주행이 자기디 남주도 열었어 간지 아니 고콜니 직세디기 벤주 점이야 고콜니 마데바 오늘 성상에나 디 남주도 남주도 열었어
There's another analogy here, or illustration. On another occasion, a man with no legs was resting on the edge of a short rope. He lost his balance and falling off, landed on the back of a wild ass beneath. The startled beast ran off at a gallop, and the man hung on for dear life, shouting with glee, "If I don't enjoy it now, when else will a cripple like me get the chance to ride on an ass?" Likewise, we should see how rare our lives are and take joyful advantage of them. So Geshe said that those analogies are just analogies that describe those impossible situations, kind of amazing or incredible impossible situations. And in some sense, Geshe says that this text is illustrating how rare our current situation is, so that we'll be inclined to make the most out of it. Often we don't recognize how rare our situation is, so that we're not inclined to make the most out of it. If we, so Geshe says that thinking of our ability to use our mind when our bodies are intact and we have full capacity to do that, we have those who might be not as fortunate as we are. Like, for example, Geshe said that he saw a while ago a clip on YouTube of someone that was missing his arms and legs, but still he was able to accomplish quite much. He was drawing upon his situation, reflecting upon his situation, and giving a really useful advice about how one can use one's mind in order to make things better. So Geshe says that thinking of our situation and seeing how things work well for us, we want to inspire ourselves to make the most out of our situation. It's incredible. If we become solely interested in just improving our financial situation, making more money and so forth, we'll be missing out on the opportunity to use our mind to develop our intelligence to a greater degree. So there are a couple of other stories that Potowa tells. It says, once a man from town came to Lhasa. He had never eaten fish before, so when he then got the chance, he gorged himself on this rare treat. Naturally, it made him sick, but as he was about to vomit, he tied a rope around his neck so as to not waste any of what he had eaten. We should be as unwilling to waste even a moment of our precious human lives. I guess I would have the rope around your neck. Anyway, on an occasion when his family were able to enjoy a rare delicacy, sweet battered barley flour, a small boy, hoping to get an extra helping, held his hands out in front of him after hiding his share behind his back, where a dog ate it, leaving him none. We should take whatever opportunities we have to put the teaching into practice rather than simply trying to collect more.
어디다 간지 편다기 가렸으나 아니 비리디에 아니 잘라야고 비주 유지 나와나 갑자기야 비주던 거였지. 그러 되게 인생한 밀터를 거야. 밀리도 비주 맞지 봐나 아니 밀리도 추스 들어오랬어. 톨라랬어. 그러 까오 망고진이야. 아니 깨오 망고진이야 비리. 아니 깨오 하마트로야 깔리잖아. 아니 주츠름 소모된 미규쯤 추적성을 때니 그러 다당한 밀리스 파바이자 디 니 거거 디 소니 아니 간징한 남주준 거예요. 그러 수술이나 케빈 친구 친구요 아니 미션이나야 아니 편도치 되지. 그러 딘지 미디어 거야. 디 치고 그랬어.
So it's good to think about such analogies. If we have something good in our possession, just make use of it. So when we think about it immediately or straight in relation to our current situation, we have obtain a precious human rebirth with freedoms and opportunities. And if we do not put it to use immediately, it's going to be wasteful. We might put it to waste. So in our past life, we've worked hard in order to create the causal conditions for such a precious human body. We have worked hard in guarding pure ethical discipline in which we have abstained from non-virtuous actions. And it depends upon that we got a body such as this. So we want to use it for the development of wisdom. We want to do it so that will be of benefit to ourselves, but also that we'll be able to use our wisdom for the sake of others.
And so and the master good the and so did not see the survival. The children does in a number and Mishi won't be on. And it's Chadan in it down, but Dingy, no Dingy on it, and so do just home the Yudia, and so chase your dress, Chagados rock.
If we take actions which are harmful to others, no one will say that we're a good person. Also, in thinking of our actions, it's not that we're going to appreciate ourselves as being really good human beings if we know that we are harmful to others. So if we create such patterns of behaving, harming others, inflicting injuries of others, of course, it's not going to be a positive way of behaving. But still, because of our lack of understanding, because of our ignorance, inevitably, we end up behaving in a negative way.
Is that the so do just home there in Badaya, so the chase short ready, and Komshi Jigon, King Jigon, never the motto, so the Samoya, and it tell ya Gawaji Mundos, the Gawaki Mundos. Is that tell ya Komji jump by one? And Jang Yavach, Manzu Kar Jang by me, Lobson Kar Cheba, she Yavati, Manzuhaku does not. Lega Karin Jang by no, Kalasway and the Karin Jang by no, she Yavanza, Komshi Yaladia, Jang by no, then the Komshi Yala Chayos. Is that Kanji D Komshi Yala Jang Tunging and it be Luti and me Lut Chagores. What this one is the Kanji Sanji. And me with Chavanda, me do not and me only miss so this. Mother, me do not and it chetan and it to draw for the draw the vina and military collaborations.
So we often see something negative and we behave in a negative way because of some conditions that came together, because we are habituated with such ways of behaving. But if we train our mind in developing positive habits, we can acquire positive habits and reduce some negative traits. Now we can take up those trainings. We can see how we can train our body, for example, our body and mind to do certain things. If you take up cooking classes, you can become a good cook. You develop habits of how to go about and do things in a positive way. So in a similar way, it is possible also for the mind to develop those positive ways of thinking. And the ability to do that is based upon the body that we have now, which is a human body. We have taken a body such as this, so if we behave in a way that is similar to an animal, it will be wasteful.
And this the nigga want to look at this. Tenchewa, Kanji, nigga me look at Tenchewa. Ni Mondo Hami combated you, Tsultrim the Soba, Combachibi, Dayan, and it part that Zambaling, many chopping up the Kanji, Naruto top there, Ludi, chop your this. And it top gun Zambaling me you, that up to Gavani, Rap, Bev Chevachas. In the Gava said, Ray Takanji is loving, Rap Bev Chevachas.
So then it says, from the above, we can understand the importance of seeking a birth with high status. The cause of birth with the high status of a human being or God is familiar with the three types of ethics, and the life as a human being of this world is an excellent basis for this. As it is said, when you have obtained birth as a human being of this world, which is so difficult to obtain, you should practice virtue with the utmost effort.
And Geva said, Penata Chanding sort of Julia, Sina, Raw, Montepi, Nanjulia, shoot Jambana, Chanding Julia, Sim, Chava Khan Chile, Nandu Chap Kalkalia, Chava Chevali, Chava Chesavi Julia, Samuel, Yavaki. I can't drink muscle sandwich. Getting a palm machine, drink muscle sandwich. Midges and to trouble, trouble jelly, a seminal micro watts, they are on the way. And that's it. Hajan Pig, and it Chatham of shoot Chamaji by now, and call a chicken and cow on cigarette model. The Mengi, no surrounding Mijigi by now, then a Miji Sevana, Sawanini, in this one, seminal, humors. Katrina Toson Chili question. And Kanjib Dindiges, Tintimai, Chava Karachiva, Chava di Chava the Chesavilia, Susulia, something Gavas comments, Lusu needed from Gava comments, the Gavaris, the Kanji the Gavaris, but Dindichigo is Kanji Chava no changing myself.
The end of the section says you should practice virtue with the utmost effort. Now, when we think of what virtue is, Geshe reckons that you can describe virtue as being honest and being truthful. So, developing a sense of honesty, truthfulness, and behaving upon that would be to practice virtue with the utmost effort. So, sometimes we behave in a certain way that is not honest, that is not truthful, which brings up a sense of malaise, unhappiness, and sense of regret. And even if we are not really familiar with the presentation of karma, actions that produce results, we're still mindful of the actions that we take, and we can develop that sense of regret, unease about our behavior, and think that, alas, I should not have behaved in this way. And we can look at extreme situations, like, for example, even if you don't really know about the presentation of karma, such actions as killing another human being are things that you know that you need to abstain from, or even if you do it or you're about to do it, you know that this is something that is regarded as a negative action. So here we seek to practice virtue. We're developing a sense of honesty, truthfulness, making sure that our behavior, our actions become positive actions.
Man, that Pena Migichu Tsultrim Road, some Dawina, Migichu Poya di Tolia, Migichu the Wage in Zimbaina, Kanji Chande Mai Bigi, any Chava Kai Badi, Gaway Sungudos. Kelida, Chande Mai Bigi Chava the Kawaina, and Chava Karchiva, the Chava the Tamuji Chagas, the big Givaris. Tell it Tenny, can I give and Tumdriat. And tell it any Luina, Luyat, tell it any Sambaina, and Parkable, and give you it. Yata Gatam goes, the rock. The Dimachivana can make it Julia, and Chawadi, make it than the child, Chivana, can't do enough, and Yoga Janja on it. Sendele and Yota, they were Chimalina, and Gangachu Chedet, with Dindi Yoguris.
Another point that comes up in this section says if we understand the importance of seeking a birth with high status, the cause of birth with a high status of human being or God is familiarity with the three types of ethics. So the three types of ethics, which include points such as developing ethics in which we abstain from the 10 non-virtues. So if we, as much as we can, abstain from the 10 non-virtues, means that we put a stop to actions which are a way of behaving which is not honest, which is not truthful. If we put a stop to dishonest, untruthful ways of thinking, it means that we're cultivating virtue, and that will bring about positive results, good results, such as, for example, being born with a good body, good physical support. And the mind will also be happier, more at ease, more relaxed. So if we behave in an opposite way, in that rather than abstaining from these non-virtues, we cultivate them, we create them, we will always experience difficulties and problems. In this life, we'll have difficulties and problems, and also in future lives, we'll experience problems and suffering.
And sugje should to select tenas and gumde gimbadi and you can't jelly jebidinti jingu yoga. Gu yaku jiobana, jebu yakuchioya, Gu duja jibana, jebu duja jingu yogadi, Koran gumde Koran Jordan jedos. Is a lude taran chagos.
The next point in the text says, contemplation of the rarity of such a human life is done with two parts. According to the difficulty of obtaining the cause and according to the difficulty of obtaining the result. So we look at a body such as this as a certain result that has been obtained through the cultivation of certain causes. So when we work out the way that causality works, we can first of all look at things which are tangible, physical things, things that we can touch, things that we can see, and try to work out the cause and conditions that give rise to them. And in general, Geshe reckons that what we will find is that if positive cause and conditions come together, they produce a positive result. When negative cause and conditions come together, they produce a negative result. So then turning towards our body, when we look at the situation of our body, which is a result, if it's a positive result, then and we can look at a body as being a positive result of something, then we can also deduce that the cause and conditions that give rise to a body such as that were also positive cause and conditions.
And so they are over on the Mamush later. Shana never can draw the one, so they usually Magami Mamma projects. Kundigi, Chiniris. In that, I million D, the Giabuchin, some of the Stamway, he was chimney with Lutea, and did not sing is some of your account to me. Kibu huge languages.
So we can continue to look at such manifestations of causes and conditions that produce results. In terms of, for example, the way that we behave. If we develop a behavior in which we involve with the killing of many others, it is likely that we'll enjoy a short life. If we deceive others, the result would be that in return, we'll also be deceived by others. If we harm others, we'll become very unpopular amongst others. Others will dislike us. These are natural occurrences or natural results of such actions. So similarly, when we look at a situation, the state of our body, we can think that since it is a result, someone in our previous life, the person that we were in our previous life, has developed a positive way of thinking, a useful way of thinking that has contributed to the body that we have in this life.
진짜 소소소 셈레지 따다스. 난주기 셈레지 따다. 아니 셈버 사양 쳐. 겨주 톨레 주도 아니 미기주 톨레 주도. 또 시대바나. 아나 뭐지 아니 셈레야 사양디 겨자 셔단 마게 차도치 아니 란게 샴방 상로디 슈치슈지 차가자 아니 겨치마 물륜len세디 카고슈즈스 단 미르 마나나 다 샴바 돈로도 이다 녀도 디지털이야 내도로서 그래서 시계발에 표문치는 면은 방법이 좀 되는 수준은 배정이고 만도 도세야지 디지털이 투the shells.
So the next section in the text explains the contemplation of the rarity of finding such human life according to the difficulty of obtaining the causes for such a body, such a human life. So in drawing from the 400 verses, the text that was composed by the Indian scholar Aryadeva. Aryadeva says here that if our actions or our way of thinking in previous life have contributed to this life that we have now, to this human body, well, look at your current state of mind and try to work out what type of rebirth will you have in the future. Do we have more virtuous way of thinking, or are we more involved with negativities, with non-virtues? If our minds are controlled by anger, attachment, pride, jealousy, and so forth, if there's a predominance of these afflictive states of mind, if we have attitudes such as that we seek our own victory, even if it comes at the expense of others, when we seek to be victorious over others, to defeat them, when we have such strong afflictive states of mind, it will be hard to again find a human body. And if it is hard to find again a human body, what other options have we got on the table? Well, if we are not born again as human beings, we will be born as animals or other states of existence as explained by the Buddhist tradition.
어디에서 진짜 단단히 남주기 단단히 성당에 개침부 쉬우지 그러나 남주도 스타데 남주다 그러나 남주에 용어여스 남주 용어에 돈 제발나 남주 내가 독자 제발이라 내가 독자 마치고 내가 독자 제니 겨비 동아죠 남주 용거 말이라 내가 독자 제사디기 신의 아칸 뺏어 그 마치 따다 상성기 상무지 무도스 대난신기 남주 아니 치카나 몰라야 아니 소소 세들이야 아니 네버 체대야지 아니 제인지는 아니 동화용이지 남가용이지 근데 연구요です지금 얘기하는 아니 자와 가르 두제 쳐봐야 자와도 제사디 신 겨버지 된거 대난신지 이거 드디 아니 시다스 하스나 그 드로랭기요래 아니 디기 똑똑기 아니 상무방에 주저거려 여말아서 단단히 아니 상무방바이나 아니 비기 치유니 모델이야 아니 만남 순전히 약간 시켜도야 간지 그 디디 진거를 때 디기 아니 깨워침이 유내야야 한도용 거였어.
Or we can assess that based upon our own personal experience. Like, for example, when we are about to do something that is negative, it's not common that we feel regret before that. But once we've done something that is negative, we end up thinking that, alas, I wish I'd not done that. We have that sense of regret that creeps in. Then think about how we'll be being on the verge of death, and knowing that you have very short time left in this life. And when you think of the things that you have done in your life, many of them have been negative things, it is likely that a sense of regret will creep in, and you will also be beset by fear. And it will be too late at that point in time to undo all those things. So if we think about it well, while we're still alive, we can allow this way of thinking to inform our behavior, to make sure, just like we're making those positive aspirational prayers, that we'll continue with positive behavior, positive conduct for the time that we have left in this life.
아니 지 수tum 나라야 디 깨워 침이 리치고야 아니 팬도여야 되고 지마도 지 셀들이야 팬도메바 딘디 싸우니까 책이요 말했어 그냥 가주 쓰기 비기 내기 주봉 수tum 손토가 디 책이 그냥 쌤이야 시대 파괴 중고です. 쌤이야 디기 용 먼저 디기 세야지 또 쌤 데마드레도서 치 책임 가주 수여봐야 쌤 기분면은 기분도서 책임 내가 있느냐 쌤 파괴고 지어봐는 기분도서 기분을 참 찍고됐어 딘자 메기 주봉 주름디 아니 끼어 치마를 변다 치고 말했어 쌤 데려야 같이 get 봐 아니 캐나다야 니 이 초고 총무 아니 야고 아니 지금 미게 아니 술도대 지역에 그런 미지 차고 오면 그런 게 수rum 손나 미 야고 차게 됐어 이 마송배나 미수이야 이체 맞았어 미수이나 마가스 차에 드라이 캔디 아니 수점 마송배 때문에 이유도 없어
We might be thinking that with ethical discipline, that ethical discipline is going to help us in future lifetimes, but it has not much bearing over this lifetime. That's certainly not the case. It is definitely helpful in terms of the things that we're going to attain in future lifetimes, but also it has a positive effect over this life, in that with ethical discipline, our mind is made more happy, it is more peaceful. We speak about happiness, and here when we speak about happiness from Buddhist perspective, we refer to a state of mind, rather than thinking that happiness depends upon acquisitions or external conditions, whatever we can get outside. We develop happiness inside in our own mind. So if we then want to have close friends, people that are close to our heart, we need to make sure that we got ethical discipline. And if we do not behave in an ethical way with those around us, there would be distrust between us and others. We'll experience difficulties and problems with others. That comes from not being ethical.
제 저들이 진진 성단 당한 단다 벌도 그 마시게 왕기 땡땡 감독이 아니 수좀 소마도 간지 또다 여기 주은 게 아니 자와야 아니 주야 망고 땡땡 총이 걸었어 상황도 그냥 아니 디리야 야가치리야 아니 미기 왔을 때 딕버싱인데 샤나야 아니 짜마스나야 소기어버디 딕비 연대레스 라이자 땡데샤요 단을 손이 비리야 샘띵이 비리 아니 교사치지 아니 텔레야 돈이 아니 진짜 싸우는 미치 어삼 돈이 드라바이나 땡땡디 말 제자버디 매버서요 할 제자버 매버서요 마세 아니 진짜 싸우는 제목이 왔지 아니 대내 손이 박 배우고 싶어요 드로투에 대한 제야도 왔어
Due to not knowing, not understanding, we have behaved in a way that is not ethical. And all of us are in the same boat, looking at the things that we've already done. It is likely that we've engaged in all of the 10 non-virtuous actions. We've done them. But we can still lay them down with the process of purification. One quality of negative action, of non-virtuous actions, is that they can be purified. So, therefore, if we practice practices for purifying, for laying down negative actions, we first of all develop a sense of regret for things that we've done in the past, but we also develop a sense of restraint and thinking that henceforth I will not behave in such a way. So if you use such practices for purification, you can first of all develop that state of mind that is at peace, thinking that I have eliminated or have purified negative actions that I've done before. And also for the future, I will not do that again. There is that spaciousness that is developing in your mind. Your mind becomes more at ease, more relaxed once you know that negative actions are purified, but also that in the future there's a certain path that you want to follow.
이제 산지 권한 게 만들어야 탑이 아니 걔는 예번 통과됐을 때 아니 통과됐다 예번 통과이나 팬도 수요였어 예번 많통 많다 멘트는 예번째 인가요 다 예번 통치니 단 존이 메치야 상비 성도여 봐나 아니 산지기다 디그레스 디스고도 하세요 됩니다.
So there are certain rites or certain practices that you can use in the Buddhist tradition for laying down negative actions that you've done before. Like, for example, one of them in the recitation that you do, there is a question that is being asked. Do you see faults as faults? And here you need to decide whether you see your negative actions as negative or not. If you can recognize negative actions for being negative, for faults being faults, you can then lay them down and decide to restrain from this. So there's some things that we can do in order to alter, in order to change the way that we behave.
Sorry. Dina disungda sesong bataras, ro. Parjing imo ngandro sesong batar. Thori to bit na cheba daranshi kana mandowan. Zeme jeji. Chinje meji domsong toba shindu nyongis. Chinje meji domsong jigyobaina. Ani kana hami giwa sabi nami nyong mogo aji chag sir denia. Tim beba inza ngandro doban mangla dendru lutaban shindu pense dichagoras. Inza ngandro niban tongchin ba. Niban tongchin. Chinje zawin chinje domsong dengoydi. So
in drawing from Aryadeva's text 400 stanzas, it says, when the majority of human beings are involved in unholy activities, the majority of ordinary people would certainly go to bed grievous. So it says, even beings with high status are continually engaged in unwholesome activities, and rarely do they resolve to avoid them in the future. Now, to resolve to avoid them in the future would first of all be to recognize faults as being faults, misdeeds for being misdeeds. And since so rare are the people that do recognize that, then not many people manage to proceed from a good state of rebirth to another good state of rebirth. Many of them proceed from a good state of rebirth to a miserable one. So it says, even beings with high status are continually engaged in unwholesome activity, and rarely do they resolve to avoid them in the future. Thus, many of them go to bed rebirths and find it very hard to obtain a birth with high status.
아니 쇼기니 공다 받다 아니 대금 마시마도 개와시야지 써니 의미가 이 마나 저는 개원이 주니 아니 나서 문다 내가도 저거야지 그 탑교시 이거 내고야지 자기 여바디 단단히 시치 아니 문진 투부터니 아니 네발 통한다 진짜 내가 너무 통하는 저거이나 근데 아니 개배열에서
As we draw from the guide to the Buddha's Safa Way of Life by Shantideva, it says, if my behavior is like this, I shall not win a human body again. And if this human form is not attained, there will be solid evil and no virtue. So, looking at other living beings around us, if you think of wild animals, birds, and the like, and the type of actions that they perform from morning to evening, it seems that by and large they're involved with negative actions, and there is so little room for avenue of positive actions. And that being the case, there would certainly be a very long stream of miserable states of existence without death and without breath. So that can be avoided through, first of all, recognizing faults as faults with a sense of regret, and also with a sense of resolve, thinking that henceforth I shall not do it again.
시드니 당고무도 송 양소치 야시 보가다 리벌 테버리 두르네 미니체도 까 농기 담치지 미치월도.
Now the text provides another quotation from a text that was composed by Nagarjuna. From the friendly letter, it says, "For an animal to obtain birth as a human being is more difficult than for a blind turtle to put its snake through a hole in a yoke adrift in the great ocean." And this quotation continues in saying, "So make your life meaningful, O king," as Nagarjuna is advising his friend the king. So make your life meaningful, O king, by practicing the holy teachings. Even more stupid than one who vomits into a bejeweled golden vessel is one who, born as a human being, indulges in unwholesome deeds. This explanation that is given here by those Indian masters such as Arideva and Nagarjuna is coming from the point of view of those masters that have given rise to valid cognition, that has realized, that has ascertained the difficulty in obtaining a precious human rebirth. So having ascertained that, having realized that, they taught it to us in a very straightforward way, but sometimes it sounds quite harsh, quite poignant. But we still fail to see the points often. We still fail to understand or to see the point. So we want to develop confidence in causality, particularly with respect to the body, to our own body, the human body, to develop confidence in how cause and conditions work in order to form or to forge the situation that we have now at the moment. And it's hard to see it. But once you develop certainty or confidence with respect to the cause and conditions that play out in attending a human body, then you appreciate the difficulty in attending it. And you also think that, therefore, I need to work hard in order to make sure that I attend such a body again in the future.
Cell keeping cups for the search and then Amalayati, Nankula Soba Luni, Shabbat, the Chico Chagres, cell couch search, Tinamuyadi, and it Soba Janja Luni Shazavano, that did with Kupa singles, Sweden and Kupa. Or these sort of Shagta, and it these to the Chico Chagos, the Chico Chag, Lumbaran Chagos.
To illustrate that, the Arjuna said in his text, even more stupid than one who vomits into a bejeweled golden vessel. Right? So imagine someone creating this beautiful container made of pure gold, and then using it for vomiting inside, or kind of pouring other dirty or filthy substances into it. That would be utterly stupid, wouldn't it? So even more stupid than one who vomits into a bejeweled golden vessel is one who, born as a human being, indulges in unwholesome deeds. So rather than using a golden cup as a container for filthy things, vomit, and so forth. If you pour into it this precious alcohol, something that was made in Italy, a precious liquor, that would be a better use for that golden cup, wouldn't it?
The Sanjay Champ Chopper song, Sanjay Arapon the Digmar song, on the Kalakashi did it.
Anyway, I guess I mentioned it. Still in thinking that for us, at least, one of the things that the Buddha advised us to give up is alcohol, which for us becomes something that's pretty difficult.
That cousin Sanjay Champ, and then I'm gone to the yard, and it cheaply come amount of the ranching come amount of such lessons. Right, you can't want that, and it be honey the singman. Cheaply come amount of said, because Sanjay rang piggy, and Jebazes be motor. Chawaka no di Migiwa Mahimbach. But diligently a cheap canamont of cigarettes. That charm toyadi, Sanjay chap toyadi, the Jim to soyadi, charm jim to need to Jeon, and the same true drag. Same true by no, Yomachawa, and Yomachipanis. Yomachawa, and piggy. Chawayabu Chetumara, Tanding Chawa Chetumaras. Or these are Nanga tell it, Sichin, in Chanku Chomaris, and Direses.
We have spoken before about two types of misdeeds. There are prescribed misdeeds and natural misdeeds. Now, prescribed misdeeds were things the Buddha spoke of in terms of advising to refrain from those negativities, to refrain from those actions, not because they are things which are negative by nature, but just because if you do those things, you develop negative ways of behaving. So drinking alcohol is not something that is negative by nature, because it's not a natural misdeed. But with things like drinking alcohol, if you do it again and again, and then your mind becomes unclear, then your mind becomes disturbed, so you end up behaving in ways which are negative. And for that reason, the Buddha advises to abstain from alcohol.
Then not to pay the years, Yagala goes, cannot use Choga piggy, chant on the needy, Chetan cham on the Choga the Sambu shoot to the Gemini Chambu. Chant on the bed new drum, Kaduna Gimi Donding, the Pema who you got. Number and chapter, Kanji.
You see many cases like that in Tibet and also India, and Geshe believes that it's like that also here. You have families in which relationships are going well until the guy starts drinking. When they start drinking, they go completely out of control. Domestic violence starts, and the person behaves completely like crazy. It's common in Tibet. It's also common in India. It's also likely to be the case here.
And you choose the Chihuahua, and it chash moods. One way that Yakshir is a teacher of the country, and the middle down is a middle down we in good be non children to it. Korea, never your answer, non children that Geshe shoot this will do.
So then going back to that golden cup, if you pour an expensive liquor into it, then that might be like a liquid that will make you crazy. So better than that, just pour a good cup of tea into it and enjoy yourself. All right, so make the most out of your human body, human life with freedoms and richnesses. So think about it. I guess that says that had he had a golden cup, he would probably pour tea into it and have like a really good cup of tea. What would you pour into your golden cup? So, Nathan, what are you going to do? There is no good butter tea. I disagree with that. All butter tea is evil.
Butter tea and so the children don't do more.
Geshe says that if you don't drink body tea, if you can't drink body tea, it means that kind of you don't have enough merit. You're not fortunate. Or maybe that you're smart enough to not drink that poison. Anyway, we will leave the text here for now. If you've got any questions, kombucha. I'm not sure that kombucha is a good thing. Kombucha, how do you do? Very good. All right. Yeah. Sorry, Oli, you were ruled out by both of us. All right, let's leave it here for now. I'll put the dedication verses on the screen. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow. And may that which is arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may quickly attain the state of the Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind and Zingyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path that is unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder, Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And finally, you upholders of yours, moral way, the seventh manifold bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Marjana's victorious doctrine, master for the accomplished magnificent prayers on the three jewels. Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. 네, 그런사님 보고라 지나시나스. 샤워하는 거. 시작걸로 달라고.